VerkayRadio.com, certified #1 digital talk radio station in the world. The power of women. You are listening to VerkayRadio.com, the power of women. New York City and worldwide online. You better ask somebody.
Welcome to Verkay Radio and iHeartRadio. This is the Power of Women with the Get Your Business Right show with Michael Muse. I am the Mr. Broadcastpreneur, a.k.a. the Fearless Coach, because overcoming your fears is not an option. And guess what? When it comes to sharing your story, there's no options in sharing it either, because there are people who are looking for inspiration. There are people who are dealing with situations in their lives, and all they need sometimes is just a piece and just a sliver, just a little small candlelight of inspiration so they can see that they're not the only ones going through what they're going through. Because when you come here, you already know. We help women get the right advice, get around the right people so they can make the right moves. I'm excited today because, ladies and gentlemen, when you meet great people, when you meet people who are making an impact, I met this young lady, not in person, but, social media. She was making things happen. She was sharing her story. And you know what? She drew me in. And when I say she drew me in, She's very transparent, powerful. Her story's potent. I'm here to tell you, anytime you get the nickname Eagle, you already know you're dealing with the real deal, like Holyfield. Ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce you to one of a best-selling author, speaker, inspirationalist. She's making things happen, not just in her country, because I'll let her tell that secret. But let me introduce you all to Miss Ava Eagle Brown.
Oh my God, Michael, thank you so much for having me. It is such an amazing pleasure to be here. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic and amazing, walking in God's mercy and grace. And I know you are too.
Hallelujah. I'm telling you, if it's not for the love of God, then the work we're trying to do on the planet would just not be possible.
That's right.
That's so perfect. We have to hold on to that because that's where we get the strength from.
Yes, absolutely.
So everybody knows that I'm Christian straight away, right? So I'm not going to hide that fact.
And you know what the beauty is? Whatever your faith is, you should be proud about it, because that's the path that you're on. And of course, you want to help as many people as you can help, because in our pain and our struggles and wanting to grow, be better, and have a divine, intimate connection, we have to dig deep. And so I want to dig deep, Ava. I don't believe in being shallow. I don't want to be superficial. Let's dig on deep. And the first thing I want to hit, because I've heard your story a couple times, and you talk about some serious pain points in your life.
Mm.
And some of those pain points have helped a lot of women.
It has.
Yes. So I'm almost going to let you just start it from there, because nobody could tell their story better than the person whose story it is.
I'm telling you. So, Michael, I've got a story that a lot of people, when they hear it, they think, no, girl, are you sure? Are you sure that you're normal? Are you sure that you're real? I told this story today. I was sitting with a producer, a movie producer, and we're working on doing this masterclass to teach people how to get their stories, their ideas, their books into Hollywood ready. And she and I were talking about it, and she's like, tell me that story again. You mean you were raped at gunpoint? You were abused by your father? You didn't go to school and you failed English and math? You're Dr. Ava Eagle Brown. You're homeless. Girl, tell me. But I've gone through some of the most challenging circumstances that any human being could go through. And I'm not just saying that because it's my story, but it's true. I mean, I've been through almost every life crisis that you could think of: divorce, abandonment, homelessness, not knowing who your father was, poverty, you name it. And I've been to some places in my life, Michael, that when I reflect on them, I sometimes do not understand and fathom how I got out.
Right.
I've been to some dark places. I've been to places where I felt like I didn't want to be here anymore. I'm a single mother. I have children, and I live in a country in the UK where I have no family almost, and I do all this work, but it's not always been easy. And I have suffered with all kind of emotional trauma, post-traumatic stress, you name it. I've been there. But through it all, I kept holding on to that little bit of string that says, hope will come tomorrow. Tomorrow is a different day. It can get better. It will get better. And it must get better. And, I go around the world and I share this story for any other reason, but to empower people who are in that place of thinking that they cannot get out, that it's not possible, that it's not going to happen, that it's better to die. Let me tell you something. Death is not a good option. It's not the better option. It's better to you live, to have another day, another fight. Because like right now, as I'm speaking to you guys, last night, I turned a corner on a dream that I've been struggling with for 3 years. And if I had just thrown in the towel, God did it in 3 days, what I've been struggling to do in 3 years. And that's the power of trying to keep fighting. So that's my story, one of struggle and tumultuousness, but one of courage and tenacity and resilience and hope, infinite hope.
Wow, that's powerful. But Abe, I want to dig a little deep, but I want to dig deep in a different way. I want to kind of touch on several of those things that you had to overcome. I want to if you can just give me a quick summary of what you learned about you. Number one, what you learned about you and how you were able to help other people through that particular segment. And so the first segment I'm going to ask you is being raped. What if you can kind of give me the summary and how you help people with that one first, that'd be awesome.
It's crazy you asked me that question because I just got a WhatsApp message today and I'm going to read what it says. It says, "Hi, Dr. Brown, how are you? I'm putting a song together to help women that have been through one circumstances or another. Could you give me a few sentences about how it felt to have been raped?" So it's I think the laws of synergy are just crazy. Do you know what? The question was, what do I want to teach other women? Can you rephrase that for me?
Yes. What did you learn from that pain and overcoming that? And what do you say to help another woman to overcome that as being a block for them?
The first thing I want to say to women who have been raped, and men, because men have been raped too, is that don't believe the three things you learn, because you learn three things. You learn to be mute, you learn to trust no one, and you learn it's your fault. And those, I think, are just imposed by you, the perpetrator, to hold you hostage. So I want you to unlearn it. Don't be mute. It's not your fault. And trust again.
Yes.
With discernment. I think one of the things I learned out of that was that the people who are sometimes meant to protect you. So my father was meant to be the first man to show me how a man should treat me, and he violated that. And so I learned that those kind of impacts affect you in your older self, because I struggled for a long time with relationships, right?
Right.
And I realized that sometimes you cannot always think because it's family that you can trust them. So it's almost conflicting what I just said earlier. So I learned that you must understand that it's happened. It's not your fault, but you have to forgive. Yeah. And forgiveness is not about them. It's about you. It's about you releasing yourself from that negative space. And when you forgive them, you can understand that it's not the end of the world. Your life doesn't have to come to an end. And that if you're strong enough, stand on the story, stand on it to help empower, give wings to other women who may not be the voice. So one of the things people say to me every day is, "My God, Ava, how can you talk about your story so confident?" And I said, because I'm no longer hurt by my story, because my story has now come to be my pain has become my purpose. So I would say to women who are in that space is forgive yourself, get help.
Yes.
Because not all of us can deal with it. Get help. I had to get help.
Yes.
And when you can, if you can, and not just get help from the right people, the right sources.
That's right.
Confidentiality is important because you know this, Michael, you know, you're in this space. Sometimes you go to the wrong people and a situation become magnified and it makes it feel worse. So do due diligence, find the right people, find the right organizations. You know, some people can go to their church, some people can't go to their church. Whatever works for you, it's cool with me. But get the help you need because not all of us can handle these things mentally because it's a lot to carry around.
Yes,
and once you get the help, understand that it's not the end of your world. You can live a fulfilled life.
That's right.
After that,
you hit a good point right there. And so the next point I would love you to hit is at the time you end up getting a divorce. What did you learn from that pain, and how did it change you being a woman, and how are you able to impact other women who went through a divorce also?
First of all, I don't advocate. I'm not for. Divorce is a painful process, no matter what. It's painful, especially when children are involved. And again, today when I was talking to my producer, I found myself crying about just divorcing my daughter's dad. You know, it leaves you with scars, you know, no matter how you try. And I say to people, you know, if you don't have to divorce, you don't have to. If I were to turn the clock back, I was young and I didn't have the guidance and I wasn't as awakened as I am now. And I didn't understand marriage. I had no family support to guide me. I didn't do the marital counseling. I would say to people, first of all, let's look at the things we need to do before we get to divorce and to try and avoid divorce. So I would say before you get married, make sure that you understand what you're getting into. You know, get marital counseling. I would say, you know, try and make sure that you understand that marriage means you're taking two histories together. You know, it's two histories joining together that is coming together. And I would say that if it's the absolute must and you have to get divorced, I'd say to people, try to do it amicably.
Yes.
I know that in Black cultures, or some of us as Black cultures, it's not as easily done. But if I were to do it again, it's the amicability of it that I think I would really stress, especially when kids are involved. And I would say that try to stay cordial if you can after the divorce, because it ensures that your children have a much more as balanced as can be in the circumstances of a situation. And then on top of that, I would say to you that, you know, pick up the pieces. Life is not finished.
That's right.
You can go on to love again, and
yes,
you can go on to find partner again. And I also believe that, you know, Van Moody said in his book, The People Factor, which is a powerful book. It's on my reading list. It stays there. That for a relationship to work, it has to be a giver. Any kind of relationship, you need a giver and a giver. And I think sometimes we are in marriages and relationships that it's a giver and a taker. And sometimes after divorce, you learn some serious lessons about what you do want in your next relationship. And one of the big things for me as a single woman now is that I need to have a giver because I'm a giver. And those are some of the lessons that I would say I would leave with women and men.
Yes. Ladies and gentlemen, we are here on Overcoming Radio, iHeartRadio, on a Get Your Business Right show. And we have the lovely, brilliant, impactful Dr. Eva Brown with us today. And Ava, you hit on some good things there. And so it's so important that we really see ourselves for who we are. And so the next one I want to hit, you did a good job really explaining divorce. And so if you can't hit on homelessness now.
You know, I just resigned a few months ago from being, because my workload just got so heavy. I was an ambassador for a homeless charity here in the UK. Homelessness affects so many people all over the world. And statistically, some of us don't even realize how many people are homeless, because some of us just see homelessness as people who are sitting on the street in the daytime. But there are lots of people who are homeless who are mingling in the crowds in the daytime. You don't see them. And at night, they don't have anywhere to go. And Michael, I can't talk about homelessness without talking about two examples that really broke my heart. Having worked in homeless charity here in the UK, we were on a night walk, and it was about 1 a.m. and myself and one of the mayor and some other people from the charity were on the streets giving out, soup kitchen. And a little boy, he couldn't be more than about 16. He walked past us and he said, hello, hi, very casually, normal. And he passed us and he went into this open air. It's like under the skies. And he walked into this kind of like a building, but it was dilapidated, no roof, under the sky. And he had on several layers of clothing. And he just took out a piece of cardboard and he just put it down. He went to sleep. And that broke my spirit and that broke my heart. And then there's another young man who I saw on that same walk. And he literally curled his body up to fit in the doorway of a door at a building. And I'm a mother, and that really stirred my soul. And one of the things I'm looking to start is a charity for really disaffected young girls, especially in Jamaica, like I was, because I was homeless as a teenager. And I was homeless because I ran away from home when my father had abused me, and my father and my stepmother broke up, and he left me with her. And she started to abuse me, using me for all kinds of tricks. And I ran away and ended up living in my school. And so I would leave like that boy. I would leave and mingle in the crowd with people.
Yes.
And pretended like I was leaving school. But I was really just pretending, because as soon as the crowds went, I would go back to school and sleep on the desk. And homelessness is hard. Homelessness gives you that feeling of hopelessness, abandonment, unwanted. And I don't think everybody who's on the street who's homeless, from what I know, chooses to be homeless. There are certain circumstances in our lives that can make anybody homeless. And let me say this to you, Michael, all of us who are working, especially those who are in a job and self-employed, actually, you are one paycheck away from homelessness if you have a mortgage. That's the harsh reality. So it's looking at homelessness through different eyes. And I see people say, oh my God, and you make your face up. But you don't know when it could be you. Exactly. So for all of us who are listening, when was the last time you took care of looking around your environment and see how many homeless people are there? A lot of us are so immune to it. We just get on with our lives because we live in our picket fence houses. And we've never stopped to engage a homeless person because we've never been there. And sometimes some of us are so far removed from some other people's reality that we don't even stop to think, oh my God, that could be me. How can I get involved? So homelessness for me is personal. Yeah. And it is something that has taught me humility. So no matter where I get to, it's something that I'll always carry in my heart. Yeah. And it's something I always get involved in. And I think more of us who are homed, in parentheses, should stop and care a little bit more for the homeless.
I totally agree with you on that, because I'm not sure how things are over in UK, but I know for specifically over here, people definitely look down on people who are homeless, and they definitely get treated mean, they really are treated subhuman. Mm-hmm. And seeing people go through that, and as you say, being a Christian, we already know we're already commanded that we're supposed to love our brother who is in need, brother and sister who are in need. Mm-hmm. And so often the excuse is always made, well, that person is homeless because they're on drugs, or that person is homeless because they did this, they did that. And until you know exactly what's going on with that person, until you reach out to them, until you talk to them, you don't know.
I had an experience, just to add to that. When I was in another homeless walk, we saw a man, he was about 56, I assume, and he was sat on the pavement, and we're giving out the food, and he was rejecting it. And basically he became homeless because his house burnt down. And the council thought that he should have gone and stayed somewhere, and he kind of felt like no, and I think he kind of went senile from that because his house burned down. And Michael, anything can make you homeless. In the UK, you could become homeless because you didn't pay your rent. It's just as simple as that. You could become homeless because your kids who became homeless. I've got a child. I've got young children who come into my house all the time, teenagers, my daughter's friends. I've got one young lady recently whose mother, for whatever reason, got up and just moved out, and her daughter had nowhere to stay. She was in my house. She became homeless. It could be anything. And the difficulty with homelessness is it also feels like helplessness.
Yes.
And if you're not careful, that's where a lot of people go into the wrong direction. Drugs, alcohol, prostitution, just to get by. So, it's such a sad case because it happens everywhere, all over the world. And it's not something that's going to, stop very soon. It's just that more of us need to become much more conscientious of it and see what we can do in our little corner.
Yes. Ava, you really hit on some great points and just what you've experienced and what you've learned from it. I really believe it's so often that the universe, God has a way of showing us certain lessons to get us closer and closer to our divine purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's lessons we need to learn because there's so much more we can do outside of our own limitations. Because we box ourselves in a lot of times, and what God has planned for us, well, we have plans through different things. But in order to get to that divine purpose level that we need to get to, we have to think differently. And so for you to become an author and to be on a path that you're on, where you're impacting women from all over the globe, what was the first step you had to make to get past, look at all those things that happened to you and really feel like the word says, being a new creature and a new creation? What was the process you had to go through to look at your past and to make that decision? And what steps did you have to take to really look at those things in the past and say, you know what, these things are not going to stop me? So what was your process?
What was that moment? Yeah.
Yes.
That's a fantastic question. And I love that question because it's going to be what people don't think. Some people say, oh, I had that aha moment. I was sitting in my house. My husband had walked out on me, had 2 children. I hadn't showered for 5 days. I stank. I was in autopilot. My kids were in the house and I was here, but I was not present. I was just physically here. And I describe it in my head like a drug addict, you're in the house, but you're not there. And I remember sitting here thinking, God, my kids only have me, right? And I'm failing them. If I'm not careful, social service could come and take them away from me.
Correct.
And it was kind of that moment when you realize that these kids did not ask you to be here. You kind of chose to take them. And so you have a duty of care. And so you need to fix up yourself, girl. I mean, I had to kind of almost go into a dark room. I remember my daughter had gone to school. My son had gone to nursery. And I kind of just sat here, and they don't even know this. I've never said this around them. And I kind of just closed the door and literally bawled. And bawled because I felt like failure. I felt like failed them. I bawled because my dignity was on the floor. I was going back and forth with this man who, in a relationship that wasn't serving me, I had no self-esteem. I had no self-confidence. I was broken. And I had to accept where I was. And in that space, I started reading books and listening to Eric Thomas and Lisa Nichols. And I really started searching and digging for something else because I didn't just want the Bible. I wanted life experience of real people who I could see and touch and feel. And I went on that path. And I remember listening to, this is why, Eric and I have a good relationship. And you know that because we've done some work together here in the UK and in Europe. But I remember listening to one clip from Eric Thomas. It was powerful. And it says, pain is temporary.
That's right.
It may last for a moment, but eventually, and that was it. It was that. And it was that moment that I was like, damn, I don't have to stay in that place. And the more I feed this, the more it will be. And it didn't happen overnight. So I don't want you to think that it was a one night fix. It was overnight. But I really got up and I went into the shower and I started showering and I started washing my hair and I felt cleansed. And I started this path and I went on this whole thing of personal development. So I get myself, I went to get some counseling. I started talking to my friends about it. I started journaling. I started writing and I started emptying my soul because my chakras were carrying all these things around.
Yes.
And I started emptying. And through emptying, I started to feel better. I would dress up when I even didn't need to. And it was a process. And then I started having coaching and I started going to seminars and reading books. And I was like, oh my God. And I started feeling better about myself. And so I started working on me. So I went on a self-discovery, right?
Yes.
And I went on a self-love. Self-discovery, self-love.
That's right.
Love me. Not looking for somebody else to love me and validate who I am. I needed to love me. I needed to become the best version, the first version of what it was like to love me. And it was in that space that I started thriving.
So what you're saying, I'm going to make sure I was correct. You said self-discovery, that you discover that you love self.
Yes.
I'm going to say that again for the audience. The self-discovery is that you discover yourself so you can love you. That's absolutely powerful right there. And so, and what you said caught my attention. I want to make sure the audience, you mentioned that you were journaling and you were writing. And so as you were going through your journaling and writing, and I'm going to just assume that you were also, of course, praying and meditating also. And like you said, get your chakras cleared out. And so going through that process, this is the part I think a lot of people miss, Dr. Ava. This part I really think people really miss out on. Once you recognize that you've been through some things in your life and you recognize that things haven't worked out the way you wanted them to work out. But once you made that decision, you had to get into a consistent process of journaling. And cause see, you remind me of myself when you said that, because at the point in time after, I suffered a heart attack, seizure, and kidney failure all at the same time. And so being on that path, I lost my manhood. I lost my self-esteem. I lost my being and my purpose. And I didn't feel I didn't feel worthy anymore. And so for me, it was those small things that I was able to do. I had to, something small and simple that all of us do, just get up and go to the bathroom. For me, that was a chore at one point. And I actually was laying in bed one time, and my goal for the next day was just to be able to walk to the bathroom, which was just a few steps away. And I think that we have to get to a place where once we know we are aware of it, where we take the action and be consistent. And so for me, once I was consistent with that first goal, then I made my next goal. My next goal was to walk to the kitchen. Then my next goal was to step outside. Because for 2-3 years, I had to actually be on walkers and go to the store and get on a little electric scooter because I couldn't do it. And so when you say what you said about just journaling every day, it just shows how getting to where you are now, it wasn't just a decision, but it was intentional, calculated, consistent steps each day that allow you to be where you are right now.
It was unapologetic actions.
Yes.
Unapologetic actions. It was decisively understanding that in order for me to change, I had to take bite-sized chunks, baby bite-sized chunks, that I couldn't leap, I couldn't soar, that I had to understand that I had to learn to crawl, and then I had to stand, and then I had to step, and then I could walk, and after my walk, I could run, and on my run, I could fly. But I had to understand it was like a baby. It was like going back to being a baby, because I had so much wrong with me that in order to fix it, I couldn't do it overnight. I had to go through a process.
Wow, that's powerful. Well, Dr. Ava, we're getting close to the end. If you can share what you have coming up and how they can reach you, that'd be great.
That would be great. Thank you so much for the opportunity. So I'm working on a single parent diary, I'm working on a single parent diary, which is an anthology. And I mean, I'd love some people from across the pond to be involved in it. It's really looking at single parenting, especially ethnic minority like the Black community, and the stereotype that people have around it. Because in the UK, a lot of single Black women are seen as women who are on benefits like the projects and food stamps. But there are some of us, like myself, who are doing some powerful things in the world.
Yes.
And then I'm also coming on tour. So anybody who's interested in that, you can have my details from Michael, or, I'm sure he'll drop it in the notes of the show. But I'm also coming on tour, and I'm having this fundraiser called the Perseverance and Empowerment Tour. And I'm looking to come to a few states. So Michael, I'm hoping to come to Michigan.
You have to come to Michigan.
What I'm trying there you are, we're going to do this. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm really going around to teach young girls and women that regardless of where life has thrown you, you are indeed possible, that you can rise up, you can step up, you can get up, you can dump your mind's trash, you can literally be unapologetic about starting and making something of your life. And so I have a crowdfunding campaign going because, as you guys know, to fund these things is not cheap, hotel and flights and whatever. And so in order for me to do that, I have a campaign running that I'm looking for some help for. So that, again, the link for that I can share with the show. And I'd welcome your help and support to help me spread the word of resilience, courage under fire, tenacity, hope.
That's right,
and
yes.
Education being a passport out of poverty, that even if you're a drug dealer, you can change. Even if you're a prostitute, you can change. Even if you feel that you are useless, I can hold your hand and step you out of that place. So I really welcome any support on that, and connect with me. I'd love to hear from you all.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. Dr. Ava Brown, the eagle, is always soaring. She only looks down to lift those up who need help getting up. Am I right, Dr. Ava?
I'm telling you.
Ladies and gentlemen, we want to thank you so much for coming on, Dr. Ava, because you have been a great example. You are a great inspiration, and you are truly setting a legacy for yourself. And I can speak for myself. For the time that I first heard you share your story, I've never looked at relationships the same since hearing your story. And so you have impacted me. I know you have impacted so many women in the UK, and I'm looking forward to you coming over to the US and impacting so many women over here, and people, just impacting people in general. And so I want to thank you so much for coming on, because without you and having an audience, there is no me. So, ladies and gentlemen, you are here with the Mr. Broadcastpreneur, a.k.a. the fearless coach, the author of Rise and Burn. And we are here with Dr. Ava Brown. We thank you for coming on. This is Verkay Radio, iHeartRadio. Overcoming your fears is not an option. This is where women come, get the right advice with the right people, and make the right moves. I'll see you next time.
When the women are talking, everybody listens. VerkayRadio.com. Kaboom! You are listening to VerkayRadio.com. The power of women. New York City and worldwide online. You better ask somebody.